So apparently Forest is set to go into battle against Arsenal for a Serie A attacker. Welcome to your Forest transfer news. Hi guys, hope you're doing well and welcome to your Forest transfer news. Coming up, we're going to talk to you about an apparent battle with the Gunners. We'll talk to you about a hijacking that Forest failed at, and Steve Parish is crying away. So if you're enjoying the content, please don't forget to hit the like button. Make sure you're subscribed if you are new, and don't forget we got the watch along tonight. 7:45 is kickoff. Forest final friendly against El Qudusiyah. Will we see a goal? Anyway, let's jump into the news. What am I talking about here? And this is about Lookman. What a player he is from Atalanta. The 27-year-old Nigerian has basically fallen out completely with them and will be moving this summer. Now, there's a lot of beef with him, the manager, a little bit of a broken promises going around with him. Obviously, he's infamous for that penalty, but he's a player and a half. And there's heavy interest from Inter from him. Now, Atalanta value him at about £45 million. Inter, apparently, if you believe this report, offered 32 million, which was rejected, and they're going to increase it up to 45 million. But Atalanta do not apparently want to sell to a Serie A team and would allow him to leave abroad to a top-rated club. Now, do they class that as Forest? Of course they should. Of course they should. But anyway, the story goes on to say that Arsenal are monitoring his situation, and Forest feel there's a little window of opportunity here to bring in this baller over to the Premier League and offer him European football. There is no chance in hell that Forest are getting Lookman this summer. This is coming from the Sun. And within that, I think half the facts they've put in there are all incorrect, right? So for those of you who got excited, maybe saw this report or whatever, I gotta shoot it down. There's no chance. Are Forest interested in Lookman? Of course they are. I think we put a video out probably about 6 weeks ago talking about links to him. Of course Forest are gonna have a sniff, and I don't blame him for what a great player he is. But I don't see him going there. I think he ends up going to Inter. Ben Jacobs has actually said that it's very likely he goes to Inter. It's very likely that Inter will put up the correct money to get this one over the line. It just depends if Atalanta will sell to a rival Serie A team. And then potentially the ones who are sniffing are Arsenal. So the Sun linking Forest to it is just to excite us, to make us think, oh, what's Marinakis doing? Is he doing Marinakis things? So I'm not excited at all. I'd love to be wrong on it, but I trust Ben Jacobs more than I trust what the Sun are saying. But what do you guys think? Are you going to stick to that hopium? Do you think this one happens? Could it get over the line? Let me know in the comments down below. Now, we've got to talk about the crybaby, Steve Parish, who left pass early yesterday. Apparently there was the birth of his grandchild. Congratulations to him, and I assume it's either obviously his daughter or his son. But I found it a little surprising, and I don't know if this is going to sound harsh or not, but he left probably about an hour or two before the proceedings finished. He still had time, though, to stop and give some quotes to Sky Sports News, where he looked very crestfallen to me. He was talking about, I'm surprised we found ourselves in this situation. Was there anything unexpected he got asked? Any curveballs? He's like, no, not really. They asked him, was there any hostility in there? Obviously trying to point the finger at Forest. And he kind of said, he just kept going back to the point. Now, I can't talk about it. Obviously, this is, a private, behind closed doors kind of scenario. I'm paraphrasing the conversation, by the way. But I just was reading his body language, and his body language was not as boisterous as it was in the morning, because I don't think he's come up with anything new, or should I say his lawyers have come up with anything new. What I found interesting, though, there was an article in the Mirror, I think it was Keegan again, who was talking about it. And one of the things that came up was the drug header situation. Just to remind you, that's the Irish team who got kicked out of the Conference League, I believe it was, and then had their appeal rejected by CAS. Now, we all know the whole haven't read your email scenario for Crystal Palace, but let me just read you this out. Drogheda had argued that the 1st of March deadline for submission brought forward for a season by UEFA from the original June the 1st deadline had not been communicated properly. It was a similar argument to the elements of the Palace case. In that the only information they had from UEFA was delivered to a generic email address and not an actual person. That claim and the appeal itself was swiftly rejected, and that was rejected by CAS. This echoes a large part of Palace's argument. So for me, look, if there's going to be consistency in CAS, and I like to think they have enough integrity that there would be, if they reject that argument for Drogheda, then they should reject it as well for Crystal Palace. There's other crybaby stories in there about how they're not part of the ECA, that Forest are. The ECA sent out emails to its members. Well, you could have just become a member, Palace, man. You're that tight ass, Parish, that you didn't want to do it. But anyway, the main story here is that nothing's been leaked out today. The expectation is an announcement on Monday. Could there be something over the weekend? We don't know. But it looks like they're keeping kind of it under lock and key. I sit here and I think, based on body language, based on the leaking of some of the arguments, I don't think Palace have a good chance. But when it comes to Forest, something always does go left, doesn't it? So I'm not sitting here with 100% confidence, but I'm feeling more confident than I did this time yesterday. I thought they'd have some kind of smoking gun that they'd want to bring to this argument, and it doesn't sound like they did. But we'll wait and see. The announcement will be Monday. Of course, we'll break it to you as soon as it's announced. Now, let's move on and talk about an interesting story. And this is on Duan. And what a player this guy is. The story says, he's a right winger, by the way, 27 years old. He has such a sweet left foot. He would actually be really good for us because, you know what? He can score from distance. Like, again, you know the cheat code shot from Callum Hudson-Odoi? He's got it from the right-hand side, and he's very techie, and I like him. 27, you'd think he's into his prime now. Could he transfer into the Premier League? Of course he could. Now, the story here is that a few clubs were after him this summer. Saudi were after him, and Frankfurt were after him. He rejected Saudi because he did want to go to Frankfurt because they've got Champions League football, and he likes the project there. Apparently, in the 11th hour, there was an attempt from both Forest and Everton to get the right winger over to the Premier League. And both clubs failed. And he's not coming. And he signed for Frankfurt. I know, a bit of a nothing story, but if you watch the Bundesliga, you'll know that the guy's got skills. And he can score a damn good few goals. So, I would have liked to have seen it. But what was interesting in the report that was talking about it was that it is still talking that after Dan Doy, Forest are looking to sign more wingers still. So I'm hoping, I'll just say one word, McAtee. You want the details? It's on Patreon. You know, that could be happening. A couple of other players that are still being discussed. It's going to get busy. I think Forest are going to sign 5 more players. That's the number I'm giving you guys. Count them up as they come through the door. Up to 5 players incoming for Forest. But how many more do you think we need? Right, we'll be back for the watch along this evening. We'll kick it off about 7:30. Get your thoughts in on all the Forest news. I'll see you then. Hit the like if you haven't already. Make sure you've subscribed. Come on, you Reds.